Hello YouTube, just a quick update about the character. I've got some gear that I've been trying to like chaos and exalt. This amulet might be usable. I really like the life, the evasion, the ES is all good. Kind of wish the suffixes were a little bit better. But specifically just the attributes. If I YOLO chaos this and the attributes go to like all res or something, definitely a massive upgrade. Would also be an upgrade if it had spirit instead of like the ES. A couple other random pieces that I think I should try to exalt and whatnot. So just a lot of upgrades over time. My next level up, I'm gonna put this jewel in. It's got crit damage and mana gained on kill. I don't really care about the other two stats. So those two stats are, in my opinion, worth the 1 point for the jewel socket up here. So I'm going to pick that up. Honestly, I should just drop that node right there. Now that I'm thinking. So this is my stats. With a lot of like the gear upgrade, a lot of my equipment right now has a lot of stats and attributes and stuff, so like replacing some of it is kind of like hard. Like replacing these boots with those boots, I basically lose like 55 lightning res. I would gain movement speed, I would gain a lot of evasion rating, a lot of like quality of life, so that's why I want to like try to chaos spam it for the suffixes. I would like the dexterity to stay, just to help fill out attribute requirements, but like stun threshold and reduced attribute, I don't give a shit about those two. And then if I can scrub those off, Volnai the Science Guy, baby. That's what we're doing next after that. But yeah, just a lot of like random gear. Maybe I could use a chest piece like this. Not entirely certain. Gonna have to play around with it. I believe my ES would tank quite a bit, but I can also socket it and get this up to like probably like, I don't know, 1400, and then I'd have extra spirit so I could drop Flicker Strike. Basically, Shattering Palm plus Flicker Strike is kind of really nice clear for like breaches and whatnot. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the build. One other thing is I did drop, where is it? Call of the Brotherhood, my first unique ring, and it actually rolled pretty well. Mostly the implicit, and then like the mana regen is all I really care about, to be honest. The int would be nice if it was plus 20. Maybe I should throw some divines at it, I don't know. The thing that I have a question about this, and maybe somebody in the community knows about this way better than I do, but with this node, hits ignore non-negative elemental resistances of frozen enemies. How does this work with like Ice Bite now? Or not Ice Bite, exposures. I'm not entirely certain. Like, do I need an exposure and a curse? Like, what is the point of Heavy Frost now? I just don't get it. I thought it being treated as 0 before would give it like some scalability with exposures, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. I'm not entirely certain. Maybe somebody else knows more about this than I do or done some testing. The problem with this ring is that both my rings give me like a lot of either rarity or res in this case. So just for example, like dropping that and putting that in, I have to make up all that fire res, and I just cannot do that with my current gear. So yeah, just SSF problems. But the other thing is like you lose out on the lightning damage. I could run the Tempest Flurry, but I can't 5-link it. I just don't have the jewelers for that. But Tempest Flurry would allow me to also pick up like Herald of Ice and then scale like Pure Cold, because this is just a bunch of damage. This is 75% increased damage for 3 points. And then I can run Herald of Ice and get more shatters combined with Shattering Palm instead of the Flicker. But I just need to work out like Spirit, everything else like that. I'm not entirely certain. You do lose out on the shock. I did drop the Unbound Forces here, so my shock is 7% weaker, but I really just don't feel this while mapping, and picking up like the damage nodes down here was just so much better. Obviously leveling up aided in the damage nodes. Real quick, the links: Ice Strike linked with Crescendo, Ice Bite, Martial Tempo, Close Combat, and Heft. I'm not running Conk Effect just because after some testing with it, I just don't like it. But for bossing, it's definitely worth running. Probably drop Close Combat here for the concentrated effect. My charge staff is linked with Perpetual Charge, Primal Armament, Persistence, and Innervate. I'm also thinking about just throwing Mana Leech on charge staff. I don't know how well that will actually work because it is not really scaling ideally to like that much fizz. Shattering Palm is linked to Cold Infusion, Magnified Effect, and Calling Strike. Tempest Spell here is linked with Super Critical. Basically, as long as I have my charge staff already charged up for like a map boss, the whole thought process behind this is to have my bells constantly like having a high crit chance. Not entirely certain what the actual crit chance is. I tried testing it in a map, but the crit chance number doesn't change if it consumes a power charge, so I don't actually know what the real crit chance value is. But because of Tempest Bell, like I pretty much delete the bell in like 2 seconds. And if I sub out Flicker Strike for Eye of Winter, which I have tried, and I do like it for bossing just because sometimes the bell just like instantly explodes on a spell echo, and I've seen it. I'm assuming it's getting lucky with reality rendering, but I've seen it literally delete a map boss like half of its HP in about like 1 second. So I'm assuming just reality rendering like hitting a 7% chance, because when you have 24 hits and you are deleting it in about 1 second, there's a good probability that a couple of those were from reality rendering. And yeah, just sometimes it just deletes bosses really, really, really hard. Obviously you need to prep the bell initially. This is another reason why I don't really understand why some people are going Call of the Brotherhood. For single target, what happens here is... where does it say it? Yeah, deals 30% more damage per elemental ailment afflicting the spell. So if I hit it a couple of times and I get a shock on it, and I get a freeze on it, and then I proc the Eye of Winter, it just like, it can do so much fucking damage. It's insane. So Eye of Winter is like definitely good for bossing, but Flicker Strike is just fun for general map clear. And like 9k damage, it seems to just be working. And even for map bosses, sometimes if you get lucky with like the crit and you don't have bell up, it can do a pretty good damage multiplier. I have used it just like if the boss is kind of low, because then I don't have to like really set up anything. It kind of just, it's a feels nice man moment. But that's kind of the links and everything. Actually, I didn't even realize I had. So if I went this way, I could pick up the reduced reservation as well, and then I can just have Herald of Ice. I didn't even notice that that leveled up as I leveled up. My thoughts on Into the Breach is the leech is kind of poo-poo without the second node. Even just like the mana in higher tier maps, if you rolled like the less recovery, you pick up the mana node and it's like 50 mana and you're just like, yay! It's so bad. It's situationally good. Sometimes it's nice, sometimes it's not nice. Additionally, I've been encountering this like very specific bug with rolling. I don't know if anybody else has had this experience, but like I roll sometimes. It only really happens in breaches, but then I can't attack, so I gotta like roll for a couple more seconds. Why am I lagging? Why is my latency all of a sudden spiking? I'm literally on fiber optic internet, man. GGG servers. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I've been trying to do as many breaches as possible, but sometimes they're just super rippy with the map mods, and I choose to skip over them. And additionally, like the higher tier I've gone, I've definitely noticed that breaches get so much rippier. We'll do a map here. Sure, why not? Oh, and here's my Atlas passive tree. I went essences. I've not seen one of the greater essences yet. I also went local knowledge, mostly because I want to try to get more of the jewel sockets. And then I've had some mountain biomes with like my rarity, because I'm at 96% rarity. It just shits out gold. So I've been using the gambler on like different base types I'm trying to upgrade, specifically boots, gloves, rings, amulets, all that shit. And then I'm gonna go for twin threats and see how fast I delete myself. But as long as the maps aren't rippy, I'm not dying. I've only died once. Here. I've only died once or twice, I guess. I don't remember having a second death. Yeah, I'm lagging randomly. But I like all the changes with like the frenzy charge generation in the last patch or two. Whenever that happened, it's been so nice. It really lets you just like use flicker if you want to, if you have like the spare sockets and everything. Sometimes flicker feels good, other times it doesn't, and I pretty much need to use Shattering Palm plus flicker in order to like actually benefit from it. That was a huge lag spike. Let's see if I can get a cool flicker moment here. Not that cool. And I've just been picking up like every single base type that's important. I've kind of gotten used to like the PoE 2 clear speed, especially since there isn't like, okay, this is probably the best thing about PoE 2 in my opinion. As you can tell, like map rares, they're not really scary at all. Like some of the on death effects, they just randomly chunk you, like whatever. Also, this is like enfeeble, so that rare would have popped away faster. Like, I know a lot of people, especially in the softcore world, they're like quadruple my DPS. Here. I'll just throw this up. So fully buffed up, I usually get around like the 40k mark, and really it, like the big thing that's setting me back is my stick, my golf club, whatever you want to call it, the quarterstaff. That's the main thing that is like setting me back. But my favorite thing about maps is honestly no rogue exiles, because I was kind of thinking about this today, and it's like I don't have to deal with Xandro as a Wind Dancer build. And if anybody's ever played Wind Dancer in PoE 1, it makes you take 20% more damage from attacks. And Xandro will just perma-stun your ass, and he can't be evaded whatsoever. You have to run block in a build. And I believe Elusive also works against him, because Elusive is just chance to avoid hits. In one of the builds that I played, it was a Cold Dot Trickster, and I leveled it to level 99 in Tota. Absolutely hate Tota mechanic. Probably one of the worst mechanics in the game, next to Sanctum and Ultimatum. And if I see Tota, I'm gonna fucking scream, because I hate Tota, and I feel like they're gonna implement Tota into PoE 2. just because of like some of the NPCs, some of the stuff that we saw in the art book, if you have the art book or you've seen it. Yeah, it's just, it screams they're making Tota come back, and I don't want to see Tota. I absolutely fucking hate that league mechanic. I hate Ultimatum, I hate Sanctum. So, yeah. My current plan, at least, is just farm up currency, try to basically SSF my gear, and hope that a lot more chaos start dropping, because I really feel like chaos just don't drop whatsoever. I feel like for each annul that I see, I might see 1 or 2 chaos. And I have been annulling stuff and exalting because that's pretty much all you can really do when you don't have chaos. So probably not the best map to show my DPS, because the whole enfeeble plus white mobs, like I'm literally dealing 15% less damage. And it's lagging, which is always fun. But I just take it slow. Maps really aren't that rippy unless you like try to play super zoomy or you try to juice them up. I will be trying to do the whole like, that was a weird ass movement. I will be trying to do the whole eradicated or irritated, whatever it is, irritated, plus corrupted on a Vald t15. Hopefully tomorrow I can do that, because if you do that, allegedly, holy shit, I was not expecting another explosion. Allegedly, if you do that, you gain +2 passive points, because it is a T18 map. Not entirely certain how accurate that is, but I watched MP's video, and I would assume that MP knows exactly what he's talking about. I'm definitely sick and tired of on-death effects. On-death effects are not fun, they're not engaging. They literally just slow you down, stress you out. Like, it's just, in my opinion, really bad game design. Like, if the monster itself doesn't have mechanics that are scary, then why the fuck do you need to produce scariness and alternative methods? I always just view it as like lazy game design. Maybe that's a bad take, but that's just how I view it. Plenty of games can have really hard encounters without on-death effects. Even PoE 1 has really dangerous mobs like Sandro that don't have an on-death effect, it's just a rogue exile. I do expect them though to make rogue exiles. It's kind of weird though, like I just hit a point in time, especially after like the damage nerf that mobs deal, where I was just able to like progress mapping like really quickly, which is not what I expected, but it is what it is. Fuck me. What is going on? Like, homie's a fucking blue. Why is he so scary?
I must maintain a fine balance.
You definitely need a loot filter. I should really make one that just hides all the advanced stuff. Like, even if it's a rare, it's just not worth picking up, period. I've been trolling myself a lot by picking up advanced instead of expert bases. And I've been pretty much just gambling every single staff that I find. I like to have fun with some of my tab names. And I've kind of hit the point where like I don't want to reforge a lot of stuff because I have so much stuff that I want to try to craft. But I don't know if I should be reforging it. Maybe I get something that's like slightly better that I can just like start slamming or whatever. Such a convoluted crafting system. I kind of just hoard for a couple of like I don't know, 5, 10, 15 maps, or until stuff starts getting full in my stash, and then I just start slamming. So yeah, currency feels okay now that I'm in like red tier maps with my my rarity. But currency early on felt really bad. Like when Zizarin just was farming Beetle 24/7 and I was in maps, I felt like Zizarin was just getting like Regals and Exalts out his ass. Meanwhile, like I would see like one a map and have to pick up every single rare to get Regals. One thing I do want to talk about with the Atlas is when you're exploring, this zone, for example, has the the fucking ledger doesn't even tell you. Oh, it's because it went to, it has the this one, for example, it has, where is it, radiated, and it has corruption. They both add +1 level to the area. So if you see a zone like this and it has a map boss and it has either the irritated or the corrupted, what you want to do if you're still progressing the Atlas, like let's say you are stuck on T7s and you have no T7 pool, you can put like a T5 in there, or even just like a T4, and when you kill the map boss, it's going to drop like T7, T8 on like a T4 map. Because I believe map bosses are scaling up in level the same way that map bosses do in PoE 1, where a map boss can drop the tier that's higher. And if you take the nodes on the tree, where is it? Yeah, like chance to be a tier higher. If you take nodes like this, 20%, 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%. So 20, 40, 50, you have 60% chance for a map to be higher tier. Like let's say you run like a rare T4 map and it's in a +2 zone. That means that the map is inherently T6, and then the map boss will inherently drop +1 guaranteed, and then you can drop like T7, T8 maps off the boss. Like that's kind of the idea for sustaining your Atlas. So what I ended up doing a lot, and I figured this out very early on without the use of like any like tips and tricks type videos, is you can kind of just leapfrog. And I remember my hardest point was like trying to get T8 maps. Like for whatever reason, T8 has been the tier that scuffed me the hardest. Like when I was trying to get T8s, I still had I had T9s, I had T10s, I had T11s already. And I was like, why am I just not dropping T8s? And that's when I kind of realized where I was getting stuck on. So I remember running a T4 map with the double +2, and I was dropping T8 maps off of like rares. I was like, what the fuck? So that's the whole concept with like the leapfrogging. So my early game progression, I was just like stuck in like T5s for like the longest point in time. It felt like 2 days of just like grinding out like T5s, vendoring up all the like T1s, T2s, T3s, T4s into T5s, just to like try to get some T6 and T7s, and then try to get T8s. And then I figured that out, and that made my life 10 times easier. And I really think that it's kind of convoluted to a new player, myself included, just because there's so much other stuff that like you're trying to figure out at the time that you kind of don't realize what is actually happening. So yeah, just really important that you consider what some of the nodes actually have on it, because I definitely was not. Yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. I really want to drop these nodes over here because I just don't think it's point efficient. But the key thing is like my dexterity. I don't even have enough dexterity to equip some of the higher item level quarterstaffs. I think Gothic is probably best in slot just because of the crit rate. Having an additional like 1.5% crit rate is insane. But honestly, if you get a good elemental staff, you can probably just use it. The shit thing about the elemental staffs, in my opinion, is that they can still roll physical modifiers, and that kind of feels bad. And then, yeah, this is an advanced, but the expert has much higher phys than the other ones, I believe. Yeah, these two have the highest phys, but they also have the highest attribute requirement. And then this one has the higher attack speed. And then this has the higher crit. So depending on what you want out of your staff, you should pick accordingly and try to 3-to-1 with reforging, and then also using like your essences for like phys mods on the phys staff, elemental mods on the elemental staff. That's kind of the thought process. I have had some staffs that are like usable, but they nerf my DPS by like 3 to 5k. I try it out for like a map or two, and then I'm just like, it's really just not it. And then I try to exalt slam them, and they end up with doo-doo stats, and then, yep, back to the drawing board. So I've tried to make upgrades, but I'm kind of just stuck on a item level 67 quarterstaff at monster level 80, or character level 86. So for basically 20 plus levels, I'm gonna be stuck with the staff. It's really good staff, but it just doesn't have crit on it, and I would like to get the crit so that I can have much higher consistency while mapping, because sometimes the rares, even with that enfeeble on me, I just like two-shot them, and then other times I don't do like any damage at all. They have like resist towards like cold damage, and then slowly over time, after I freeze them, then they just drop dead like instantly. So pain and suffering. Jeweler orbs, where I just don't see either one of these two, and I've used the 2 or 3 that I've dropped. So yeah, how I got the 5-link on this is I just corrupted a 4-link one, then I used 2 more 4-links on the charge staff and the tempest spell. I got really lucky that my first corrupt was the 5-link, and that's pretty much carried my damage so hard. And this more maximum fizz, it does work if you have a fizz staff, but it's really not the greatest multiplier because my staff is like hybrid. So there's like, yeah, even just doing that is probably better for my damage. Sweet, gain more damage. So yeah. Anyways, that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Yay, peace.